No, so the Gerard and Pareto prove to the real estate world and the real world of success and results, things are never equal, right? So how does a successful person turn a to-do list into a successful list, right? We're trained to make to-do lists, right? So we're trained to make to-do lists. However, every piece on that list is not equal. It's not bringing equal results. So with as many things you can do, how do you decide what matters most at any given moment of the day? You do it by turning a to-do list into a success list. So it'd be kind of like if you got any big goal, a lot of the examples I give are marathons. You're gonna come up with a plan, right? You're not gonna just make a list of things I gotta do and then just go do each one. There are some major things that you have to make sure you get done each day. You're not running your 5 miles, then your 7 miles, then your 9 miles to ramp up for it. You skip that because you got another list of, I gotta buy new shoes and whatever else you need when you run marathons. I can run my car, well, I can run. So it's important not just to make the list, but then go, okay, well, what are the things that are gonna move the ball forward? What are the things that are going to bring me 80% success? One of the things, it asks the instructor to share something in their personal life. I'm gonna share something that motivated me because I started realizing something important is, well, first of all, anyone ever heard of the parable of the talents?
Yes, I don't remember.
Okay.
Wait, okay, yep.
All right. Parable of the talents. It was, first of all, talent back in this story is money. And it was one talent was a significant amount of money. The owner gave the first servant 3 talents. Gave the second 2. Right? Got 2 talents. And the third, 1 talent. So these 2 are known in the story for making their money work. Okay? This person, out of fear, buried it. They were afraid someone would come along, take it. They just didn't want to lose that one, so when the master came back, that he or she would give it to them, right? And say, look, I didn't waste it, I didn't squander it, I still have it. These folks not only did they make their money work, but the master or the owner of the property said, look, I'm going to give you many more opportunities because you took what you had and you made the best use out of it possible. Right? Whereas this one, he hammered because they didn't make the best use out of it possible. Well, for me, what hit me when I read this is the talent for me is time. I think that this is, a lot of us are in this category where out of fear, we kind of bury the opportunity to take the time to plan our time. I think I'm getting closer to here. I want to get to here. And by the way, why do you think these people got more than this? I'm guessing it's because of past opportunities they had with that owner to show that they would probably do better with it, right? Or they attracted it because they're hardworking, right? So for me, this woke me up and said, this is more than just about being efficient with time. It's maximizing on what we're blessed with. And yeah, watching The Curse of Oak Island last night, even though it wasn't the best show for me, that wasn't the best way of spending my time. The Curse of Oak Island, we won't get into that. We already went into that.
Never. Dalton told me I was creepy.
It's pretty good. All right, so how many here have heard of the Big Rocks? Familiar with Stephen Covey's Big Rocks? Okay. So the principle of the big rocks first. It's not an intuitive principle. We feel like the more that we do, the better results we should see, yet we prioritize what really matters and we really achieve the most. It's kind of like when we think we're doing more and more and more, but it'll take time to sharpen our saw, we're going to keep sawing away, and it's going to take a lot longer and a lot more effort. We're not going to get the results we want. So, exactly. And some big rock categories that are important, not just business, you really laid it out, God, family, business. So those are our big rocks. What's big rocks in your family? What's your big rocks with your faith? What's your big rock with yourself? And business. We'll focus on business for this. All right, who wants to kick us off with the reading of philosophy on page 29? Thank you.
A philosophy professor decided to teach his class a lesson on priorities. He pulled out a jar and added as many big rocks as he could fit. He asked the students if it was full, and they agreed it was. So the professor picked up a box of pebbles and poured them in. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles, of course, rolled into the open areas between the rocks. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. Fewer students agreed that it was this time. Yes, we keep going.
No, next person. Thank you. Who's next? Who wants to read? You got it?
He pulled out another empty jar, identical to the first.
The next one.
The professor picked up a box of sand and poured it in. Of course, the sand filled up everything else. When he asked the students again if it was full, he heard a few tentative yeses, but before he pulled out a watering can and proceeded to fill the jar to the brim, he looked out at the expectant faces. We can all finally agree that this jar is full, right? The students nodded, wondering where he was going with his demonstration.
Pulled out another empty jar identical to the first, moved the big rocks, or more big rocks, more small rocks, more pebbles, more sand, and more water in reverse order, starting with the water. He asked if he filled the jar with those things, would there be enough room for any of the other things? All of the students said no.
When he got to the big rocks, he exclaimed, "The big rocks must go in first. This jar is symbolic of your life. Everything here represents a priority in your life. The big rocks represent the highest priorities in your life, your list of essential non-negotiables. The others represent smaller and less important priorities in your life. If you spend all of your life chasing trivial things that don't matter, you will never achieve your highest priorities."
Whatever your highest priorities are, make sure that you make adequate time and space in your life to accomplish that.
Awesome. Thank you all. Is there anything here that's a big aha for you? Anyone that heard something here they never heard before? Or
Just
some
a
of the-
really good reminder.
Take the time to distinguish what your big rocks are.
Our jars fill up quickly with a lot of stuff, doesn't it?
It's also really easy to see the little rocks and the sand and the water in other people's lives, and not so much your own. So I can look at my adult kids and go, "What are you wasting your time on that for?" But I should probably look in the mirror. There's a few things I do that I probably don't need to do.
Tasha, I think you bring up a great point that sometimes you need to have that person in your life who's going to come alongside you and say, "You're missing the big rock here." And that's really important. We'll step up and remind you of that from time to time, because they do get away from you, and especially when you're on the beach. Because when you're on the beach, what you see is the sand. There's plenty of rocks out there, but you see the sand and you see the water, but the rocks are there and they're still there. You just lose sight of them sometimes because all of the other stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we talked about the 4 quadrants. We don't have it here, so we'll get into it. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that we think is urgent or important, or maybe not important, wind up being those things that fill up our jar before we don't have time to work on stuff that's most important. It's the most out of life. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone's read this, but I would grab one of these and he's the one who spoke at family reunion, and he's kicking my butt, especially right now on chapter 14. One more inconvenience. One thing I gathered from this story was the students always thought that it was full. Then there was like one more way, right? There's always one more. And I think if we probably can find one more. So there's always one more way. If it isn't getting full in your life, there's one more way. So, oh. One of my small rocks I fill up my dad jokes. Oh, well, there we go. We can just do that now. This one. Oh, it's over. Okay, good. So there it is. So when we're focused on the 20% that really matters most, we have 80% of the results that we want. So we can do this by design. We can decide what's getting us the most effort. One example in your business, you look back at your business, what were the top 3 places I got business from last year that closed? Because my sphere was it open house, social media, what was it? Find those, put more effort into those. Get rid of the ones that might have done a couple, but it takes a lot of your time and you didn't get a lot of results out of it. That's just an example. And then when you get really good at that, what happens? You get 80% of the results. Then you can hire people to do the other 20%, or the other 80%, I should say. And then you get the other 20% in results. Now it's really flying on. So, committing to the principle, extreme Pareto. That just sounds like a cool workout program. So, what Pareto started, you gotta finish. So the 80-20 principle is the first word, but not the last word on success. So identify our 25, then we're gonna go on even smaller by finding the vital few of the vital few. That sounds so. The one thing, another great book, of course, there seems to be a lot of one going on here. I don't know if you guys have read The One Thing, or if you're new to the company, this is another Gary book. And it's really about this. It's coming down to the.
Where am I
Who's letting that guy run the show?
And my Atari still blinks 12. So, well, we'll keep going. We'll read the excerpt here. Who wants to start? Shane.
Sure. Talking extreme Pareto, right?
Yes, much to do about nothing.
All right. Well, to-do lists serve as a useful collection of our best intentions. They also tyrannize us with trivial, unimportant stuff that we feel obligated to get done because it's on our list. Achievers operate differently. They have an eye for the essential. Left in its raw state of sorry, I jumped the gun.
Yep, let's let Adam go now. Let's give Adam a try.
I'm so excited.
I know,
I'm so excited.
So pretty.
About to open my mouth there.
Yeah.
Left in its raw state, a simple inventory, a to-do list, can easily lead you astray. The first thing on your list is just the first thing you thought. To-do lists inherently lack the intent of success. Long hours spent checking off to-do lists and ending the day with a full trash can and a clear desk have nothing to do with success.
Instead of a to-do list, you need a success list, a list that is purposefully created around extraordinary results.
To-do lists tend to be long, success lists are short. One pulls you in all directions, the other aims you in a specific direction. Your to-do list contains everything, and it's probably taking you everywhere, but where you really want to go.
Awesome. Thank you all. Anyone have any questions about that, or? You'll see on our doors on occasion, and the leadership team, we're doing our one thing. So the rest of the leadership knows that that's their big rock that they're working on right now, so leave them alone, because that's going to get them the most success for the day. But we still wind up bugging each other, because I like to see each other, so when that handles up, we don't, right? When you see that side, we just don't. So making a success list, not a to-do list, as they said. So there's a difference between being busy and being productive. Let's say your goal is to run a marathon again. Of all the activities on your to-do list, some will lead to more success than others, and it's the 20% from the success list that will have the most impact. Now, I'm not a marathon runner. I just chased my girlfriend long enough to make her my wife. That's about it. So it's a to-do list, and then it winds up breaking down into what's the most important thing. And that's what we'll do. So if you're ready, do this real quick. Something that I want you to read. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do is you're going to write down your goal from page 13. If you didn't already, then come up with a goal. And we're going to list as many things you can think of that you are doing or could be doing to make that goal a reality. And just let your mind flow. Don't let limitations happen. Put on there anything you can think of. Then we'll break it down into a success list by circling the tasks that only have the most impact on your goal. We'll identify the one thing. Ready, set, goal. Looks like the brackets.
Security is they established. Oh, that's just they. Yeah, I looked at myself too, and I'm like, not the best of the success list that I've been. Well, no, I actually mean, at the end of the day, it's so many, all of them. Experience running partner coach, it amplifies all of it. Everything else. That was a good point, actually, why don't you share that?
I noticed.
I didn't have it until you went to the next.
Anyone finding this difficult?
Yes. But one thing.
And an answer to your success list isn't just do what the wife says, although it's correct.
Unless you're the wife.
It is correct. So. Anyone having a struggle? Anyone need any help?
Well, there might be steps to it that I don't know about, but I think I have.
Good, that's good. And there's not enough time here today, but really you take each rock of your area of your life and create this. So faith again, family, but big one that we're going to be preaching more and more is take care of ourselves. What can we do in that regard? God bless you. God bless you. See how selective you can get. See how far you can break it down. And when anyone has something that they want to share, that'd be great. What's the one thing you should be focused on to achieve your goal? Who would like to share?
Time blocking it.
Time blocking it. That's a good one. We don't know what it is yet, because we haven't talked about time blocking yet.
Okay.
That's, you of course, you know what time blocking is. I mean, but what, yeah, what's the one thing? As Jason made a great point about here, with this marathon list, the biggest one thing that they can do is coordinate with an experienced running partner or coach. And what the point he made was great, because if you look back on it, time block training schedule, select running regimen, run a marathon, and you look at all the different things in the middle, the experienced partner or coach will help them coordinate and put that all together and push them. So that one thing affects everything. And that's again why we talk about health a lot. That affects everything in our life. No one wants to share their one thing.
Lead generation and follow-up.
Jessica, you like that?
Yeah,
I
mine
know
is
she'd
lead,
like that.
lead gen for listings.
Mine's get organized, I'm kind of stuck, I can't move forward without it.
So what you're saying is, your one thing is when you organize everything, that will affect all others in a positive.
Everything.
Yes, sir.
Can we play a game with Eli? So if lead gen is your thing, lead gen is the one thing you can do, can you break that down further?
Yeah, sure.
What would be some things you could do that would break that down further?
I could call my sphere versus calling a website.
Okay. What else?
Versus,
In order to successfully, what are the 5 things you have to successfully do to lead gen? So call your sphere. What else? Somebody already mentioned it as one of their things. Starts with T.
time block.
Time block, right? What else can we do? Successfully lead gen.
Practice scripts.
Practice scripts, right? What else can we do? Sorry?
Role play?
Role play, so role play, practice scripts. What else can we do? Bunker, maybe? You know, set up that space. so
Eliminate
that-
distractions.
Eliminate distractions. And so of those things, what would be the most important thing you could
Time block.
do? Okay. So you see that even within that everything that you do, if we go to time blocking, I guarantee you, we could expand that even further. What do I have to do to successfully time block? Right? I've got to plan out my week. I've got to plan my vacations. I've got to set aside time for my family. I've got to set aside time for, you know what I mean? And you start blocking that out down to that, and that's kind of what this keep digging that 80-20 is about. Keep digging that next thing so that you know what that most important thing is. And then ultimately, that's where you end up where Krista is, where, well, I've kind of got to get organized, but it's even more than it, you can, that's the same thing where there's something I can do to get organized. Just one thing that if I did it to get organized, I'd be ahead of the game. And if I get that thing, I break that down even further, I'm gonna get even further ahead of the game. I'm just really focusing on
Yeah, like when Jamie said taking care of your health, right, taking care of us. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had it time blocked, right, to call all the doctors. Like I went to a doctor's appointment yesterday, and then there's all these people I gotta follow up with, and then there's insurance, but if I don't take the time in the middle of the day to do it, I'm never gonna do it. And something else will always come up, and if I don't take care of me, it doesn't matter how much I lead gen, because I won't be here.
And if you feel cruddy and you're meeting with clients, your energy's low, same with the calls, they sense it, they feel it. You're just getting a little lower on time, so what I'll do is jump ahead a hair. So the next step we're talking about is the 411s, and this helps you do a deeper dive too and make sure you're hitting everything that you do. So, everyone here familiar with 411s, or is there someone who's not familiar with 411s? That's good. The newer guys should not be familiar with it necessarily. So, So let's jump right in. So those of you who aren't familiar, it's an action goal worksheet. It is a tool that helps you stay focused on the top 20%. And that you will need to accomplish the goals. The 411 worksheet is formatted to guide you through goal setting for year 1 month, and then the 4 weeks. Into all the categories that we spoke of: job, business, personal finance, and personal life. So real quick, like I said, we're gonna jump ahead to this. So this is just an example. Is that on your worksheet, I think, to the mega agent? So Mike, the mega agent. So he's got his year goals, right? So here's his annuals. And he starts with these because obviously you need to write in the GPS so you get to where you want to go, right? You got to know where you're going. You can't just put a general, you can't just start driving and it's going to get to where you're at. It's just going to show you just driving around the neighborhood. So write down exactly what we'd like and as detailed as we can. And then, okay, monthly, what can I do monthly to accomplish this, to break it down? So if this person does 5 listings, that's what Mike is gonna help him get to his 24 listings sold. So we don't always sell all our listings, do we? So he's projecting more listings so we can have the listings sold. Those are just some examples. And of course, personal, read a couple books a month. A good one, he's reading Shift the first month. I don't know. But then the weekly, what are the biggest things that is gonna help you get to this? And that's what we put in here. What are the top 20, right? That's gonna bring you the most success. Any questions? Anything to add?
You should work on the weight lifting rather than jazzercise.
I was jealous of that. I think that's a good idea. All right, so I think on the next page you will have, let's see, yes, you have your own page. This is something we highly recommend you fill out and do so. Maybe right now, write down a couple things that we're not gonna definitely have time to do your yearly goal, your monthly goal, and weekly goal. But write down a couple things this week that you can do. Now, it's not necessarily a to-do, it's a generalized, sometimes they're to-do items, but, right? Close one buyer contract, right? That means he's got a lot of steps that go into that, right? Making the calls, follow up with some buyers, the lead gen, right? It's not just, oh, there it is. So in order to do that, he's lead genning 3 hours a day. So go ahead and put a couple things in there. In fact, if you are new to doing a 411, I'd commit to doing a full 411 and then presenting it to Justin and I mean, and we'll help you refine it and achieve what you want to achieve. So, book of the one thing, there's chapter 15. Again, I'm just gonna keep pedal down so we can get everything in, but so there's more information on the time block and protecting your time block. Because what good is it to have time block if we just shove it all the time, move it all over and erase it? So time blocking, manage your 2020. People think there's never enough time to be successful, but there is when you block it. I think the time my life when I got the most done ever was when I was finishing college. I was cleaning a bar in the morning, starting at 4 in the morning. Then I went through newspapers. Then I went to class because we have a daughter. I just had our daughter. It forced me to absolutely time block studying. Cum laude. but it forced me to do it. Now, it's harder when we're in our industry and we're not forced to do it, right? So time blocking is important, but protecting it is a necessity, but protecting it is even greater. Disproportionate results come from one activity, then you must give that one activity disproportionate time. Unfortunately, most of our days look something like the one on the left. We don't have the graphic for it, but typical day, this is your one thing, and it's just a slice. This is everything else we're doing. What we want to get to is the productive day. Half our time is spent doing the one thing or top 20%. So how to be consistent in the habit? Be consistent, set up the habit, be thoughtful and purposeful about the times, about the items you list on your calendar. Always block time for the big rocks. Again, you do those first. When you do happen to erase the time, you must replace it. One example I love to share, and I think I've shared it before, is those of you who follow sports, Derek Jeter. He's known as one of the greatest players ever, I guess. But captain of the Yankees, played against him when he was bad. He learned a couple things one day when we were all together as a couple teams. Later, 10 years later, I go to the Dome, and he's the Derek Jeter we all know and love. And I go in there, and it's hard to explain, but there's like in the Metrodome, there's a massive hallway, and then there's this little area for a batting cage and like workout stuff. So there's really only two entry points. There's water where people can go in and out. So as I was leaving, he had a bodyguard standing here and a bodyguard standing here. And at first I walked in and I'm like, wow, he's a little too hoity-toity of himself, isn't he? But he was at the height of his game. Everyone wanted to talk to him, every player on both teams. Of course, media, what have you. But he knew that if he didn't time block this and do this every day, he couldn't still be the captain, as we all know. So this helped him maintain, or helped him create and maintain the life that he wanted. And we don't need bodyguards, but we need to put things in place that, other than emergencies, that distract us. And I'm preaching to myself on that one.
Okay. Did anyone watch Jordan Freed a few weeks ago? One of the things that he said that stuck with me the most, that I feel kind of goes along with what you just said, is when we let ourselves down for things that we committed to on our own, or personal promises or dedications that we don't do, it wears on our self-esteem. And I feel like that is a really good piece right here, because it's been kind of in my head ever since he said it, like, oh, I'm gonna get on track with my health, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna make 10 calls a day, and you don't do it, it really does beat up your self-esteem. So finding that way to protect your time that you make those 10 calls will encourage you and build your self-esteem. So that's my nugget for today.
Love it.
That's a great nugget.
It really is.
No, you're right. It can snowball you down the opposite way. It can be just going off of basic appointments. Yeah, if you're committing to do anything, even if it's lower on the list, and then you blow it off, it starts beating up and you have your own personal integrity. Getting late to stuff or whatever it might be. So you've recorded the goal in the 411, and you know things, and you know what needs to happen during the month and the week. But what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? So let's time block a sample day. Right here, you got this page. Time block a sample day that needs to be done in order for you to accomplish your goal. So what needs to be figured out before you can time block?
What's your big rocks?
Yeah, your big rocks in any, because if I just start filling my day up, okay, this is what I need to do to lead gen, this is what I need to do to, just work, job, this, work, quick lunch. And then if I do that if I'm only focusing on that, now my family starts having issues and concerns, well, there's a reason. I haven't been including them in my time blocking, have I? So an appointment with yourself. If other people are worthy of your time to have an appointment with yourself is more. Here it is right here. If you had an appointment with a hero or heroine, you wouldn't allow anyone to interrupt or take that time. Isn't an appointment with yourself just as important?
I suppose you could also argue that your time block should kind of start with what your sleeping hours are, so that you know when you need to start and when you need to stop the day. Just put that one on there, if nothing else.
Well, there's no question about that, you know, especially some people's personal goals, that they have a TV off by 8 o'clock. A couple people I coach, TV's off by 8 o'clock and they're reading a book and off they go into la la land. Anyone have any questions about this? An example, they didn't give an example, but a good example is waking up, if there's some reading you want to do, if there's a workout you're going to get in, but you need to block them off. If it's Gary's thing and it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Oh, that's so true.
So when you complete like an exercise like this, where you know you're doing your ideal calendar, you feel uneasy a little bit about it? Anybody? Yeah.
Honest question, whether it's here or at home, when I time block, I'm so, in the past, I've been so bad about letting distractions or interruptions get to me. Simple one, last night, there was no way I was not gonna finish watching the vlog. And it was an incredible ending.
Yeah.
And then I had to watch that play like 80 times because it was so good. Now, that threw my time block off, right?
Mhm.
How can I be better about getting back to committing to my time block? So that I mean, and here, like I had 50 emails this morning, so I didn't get done what I wanted to do in that first time block because I had like things coming up and this urgency and that urgency. And I'll drop everything for my agent, but it also throws off my time block. So what's the best way to commit to that and pivot and shift with that so that I still get done what I need to get done?
Right. And well, and during the time you're at work here, you're on too, so you may get an urgent email, you need to respond, right? Well, here's some examples. We could build a bunker, right? Thank you for that. So find somewhere to work where you don't get interrupted. Even though I have my office, sometimes I'll go upstairs and make calls. Have provisions, have food in there so you can eat away. Sweep for mind, so turn off the phone, shut down the email, exit the browsers, and you know, basically work. This block deserves 100%. This is your biggest thing that's going to propel everything. So your example of the emails, we all do it. Phone buzzes, oh geez, right? And then when we focus on, when we focus on something else, it's like when we're doing one thing and then we need to hurry up and do something that's a distraction. The average it takes for you to fully get back into that gear and going is 15 minutes. So if we time block, you know, just calling people for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, we go get interrupted, we go do it, we think it's important, and it is, but it's probably,
Nothing
wait till your time block.
Nothing can't wait an hour or two.
Yeah,
Nothing can,
exactly.
unless your kid's in the hospital.
Yeah, unless it's like death or injury, absolutely. And if it's a fire, that's not a big deal, we got Shane.
Put out the fires.
This guy, honestly.
Just want to, if you don't normally time block, I think you have to accept that, like anything you do in your life, it's a learning curve. You aren't gonna be great at it the first few times. And you're gonna be more inclined to be interrupted or not have those things. But if you take some portion of your day to review your day, what did I do well today, or what would I have changed today? And you take a look at that and go, you know what, in retrospect, I allowed this to invade my time. You will get better at identifying that the next time it comes up.
Well,
And that's how you'll push it out.
at the end of the day, I always look at my schedule and I try to figure out how much of my schedule did I follow? Did I follow it up 20% today? Did I follow it 80% today? That kind of thing, because it helps the next day. It makes the next day better. And sometimes you gotta make more time, you know, Monday mornings for me, I have to always have a little bit more time to return calls and do stuff, because there's always more messages. But I turn my phone, I can walk away from my phone. I go into a meeting or something, and I usually don't have my phone even with me. So it can wait.
I say I'm gonna watch one episode of Hunting and then I watch 8. Cause it's so good.
But it's like you
She
guys
hunted 'em.
do in your EOS meetings, you rate the meeting. You know, that's really a good habit to get into, rate your day.
I have to go because I have something time blocked right now.
All right, see ya. Way to protect it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing.
And then one thing I'd like to encourage you to is, chapter 14 here, it's called One More Inconvenience. Time block the things earlier in the day that are your most uncomfortable. Because we are creatures of comfort. So if we do the things that are uncomfortable, then when we really want to enjoy comfort, we're going to have a much more comfortable existence, because we took care of the things that built that opportunity. So I think Brian Tracy calls it, I don't know why, but eat the big frog first. So do the first thing. And that's how Gary has his, he's seen the most successful ages. That's why they say, lead gen right away. Get it done in the morning, because you've got that momentum, you've got it done. Now you can focus on the other things. That's your biggest 20% you can do, right?
What I find too, if I do get all my lead gen done in the morning and I do it, I have it in my schedule. I either have an appointment at 1 o'clock or sometimes a class, or I have appointments scheduled at 3 o'clock. But if I don't, if I've done my lead gen, I've done my job for the day, I go home and I can go home and do something else that hasn't anything to do with work. Yeah, so, it's great when you follow the schedule. It is hard. It's hard sometimes.
It is hard, but yet it's simple. And how do you feel after you've gotten that done versus how do you feel later in the day if you don't? Now when you're out on a call, or you're out on an appointment, or a call comes in, or you're with your family, now you're more dejected. You don't have the same spirit as you could. I've noticed that about myself. Yeah, when I don't get my lead gen opportunities done, I feel like crap later. And then what I do, I wind up at 9 o'clock finding opportunities on social media, and really feel bad. Let things distract me. Were those things that distracted me important? Yeah. Not more important than those time block that I had time blocked. If they were more important, I would have time blocked for that too. It's important to do it before the week starts. If you've got family time planned on this night and that night, clients call, we are at the house. Well, I have appointments from 6 through 9 p.m. on Thursday, so that's out. Will this work for you? Keep those holy, protect those.
For the newer, younger agents, maybe older too, but I learned early on that you do not have to justify what that appointment is. I have an appointment from 6 to 9. They don't need to know that it's a hockey game or a date or time with your kid or going to the gym, whatever it is that you time blocked, that's your appointment. And if you choose to, take 15 minutes of it for them, you can, but they don't have to know what you're doing.
Those are the most important appointments because it's taking care of you, and it's what do we work for? We work for families, we work for our freedom, we work for having moments, right? Memories. So we time block for those things. Awesome. It's past time. I've kept you past. Any aha that anyone wants to share? And other people can go as they're sharing with you. Obviously, you can go at any time. Thank you,
This was really good.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate it.
Jamie.
Oh, honored.
Nice work.
Well,
Did
thank-
you all
thank you,
save
Gary,
these?
for
Is this
doing
a
all
book and bring them back next time?
Yep, it is a book.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's not a book, but there are.
Save them.
I would like more,
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's, like I say, there is, there's material online.
Okay.
Absolutely. I just